Tell us about your parents were who?
The what?
Your parents' names. Your mom and dad,
Oh,
their names.
time, name. My mother's maiden name was Mary Lou, or, but the, she had, uh, everybody called her Mame. Mame, Tom and Mame McClune.
Huh.
That was their, and I kind of, it would have been kind of fun to have it. I don't know, maybe it was an Irish thing too. Mame, you may have, and and Dad was a well-known, kind of well-known around the city, and because he had been the fire chief when the mayor is elected, he could appoint a new fire chief, so it was sort of a little bit political, and then when and of course Dad had retired from the police department or the fire department, and the township trustee had been elected, but he died, and so the movers and shakers of the city, a tenor, he sang a lot in the KFC, would have, of all things, minstrel shows, blackface, every year. Well, that was a form of entertainment they had then, and but he sang the Star Spangled Banner every year at the opening of the Golden every year. So he was kind of a well-known guy. Yeah. And
piano player.
Oh yeah, he could play the piano without music. I mean, all these songs that he learned. That's why I think he had in his younger days a touch with vaudeville, maybe, and burlesque.
Oh.
Because he knew all these parodies of the songs, and he could sit down and play these at that piano, and just crazy. But nobody else in the family could. But he did it without any music anymore,
Yeah.
It was, and he'd sing while he's playing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I never. Yeah.
What did you learn from Mom? Your mom?
All kinds of different tricks cooking that I remember her doing.
Right.
And I can remember the simplest thing about, like you boil some potatoes and you're going to empty the water out, and my mother would take it over to the sink and take the lid to the pot. And I remember Vinny and Lois DeAngelis were at our house in Brookfield, and I'm in the kitchen doing something, and I went over to the sink, and I emptied and Lois said, "Oh, Mary Lou, just like your mother used to do it, like that was such a big deal,
Yeah.
just I really was. I was a goody two-shoes, quiet, never made any noise. I would sit and listen, and if my mother and father were having a party down, I would upstairs and sit on the stairs so I could hear the conversations that were going on.
I used to do that too.
I think all kids must do that.
Yeah, and the biggest times I could remember distinctly when I made my first communion. Okay, so you're 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you're all dressed up. And, you've seen those pictures. You got your picture go to the photographer.
Yep.
And I can remember it because it was Mother's Day also. And my electric refrigerator.
Oh.
We had an ice box before that.
Wow.
She got an Electrolux refrigerator. And I can remember being in the kitchen. It's funny. It's a picture that I can remember. We got a big deal. This is a big deal.
Huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's one of the things I remember a lot. They always had a big party too, and you got lots of good stuff. I think I got a nice watch. But
What year did you get the Electrolux refrigerator?
well, let's see. If
When you were 7?
I was 7, so if I born in 29.
36.
36.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1936.
1936.
Yeah. And no, I wasn't young, but I was 14. I remember Pearl Harbor. Remember? I was laying on the floor reading the Chicago newspaper. It was Sunday. And it came on the radio. And I was laying on the floor reading the announcement about Pearl Harbor. And we had like a sun. I can remember where I was. I remember that distinctly. Things. And just like in 9/11, I was used to getting up the 3-hour difference time between Arizona and New York, and I would get up at 5 o'clock because it was light out, and I would switch on the New York station because it was 8 o'clock there,
Right.
And I'll never forget that fire.
Oh.
And I'm watching, and I see the other plane coming
And hit the
second one, and you never see that. You never see that anymore. They don't show that tape so much. But you go, oh my God,
Right.
and that's something
I never forget.
that is in
Yeah.
ingrained. But as far as Jim enlisted in the Navy rather than be drafted, so and he went to, of all places, to learn how to be a sailor to Boise, Idaho. So, and he was a radio man on a destroyer, Nashville, and kamikaze Japanese plane hit of course, the radio tower is the highest thing. I think it must have hit that and sink the ship.
Oh.
But some of the sailors were killed.
And Jim was killed?
Huh?
Jim was killed?
Oh, yeah. And they, and it was between, I think it was between Christmas and New Year's that the guys came to the door to tell the family that Jim had been killed. And my sister Marcella was there, and my mother was working for my dad, and she got the message and called the office and told this woman that ran the office for my dad to get a hold and tell my father that he's got to get mother and bring her home and what happened. And as Marcella said, it was just awful, just awful. And she never, I don't think she was ever the same.
After that.
Yeah, no. And Ed, of course, was over in Europe at the time, and they didn't try to keep something from Ed over in Europe. Well, somebody from Gary ran into Ed over in Europe, and knew, even that.
Even that. It was a small world.
Yeah.
Was Ed in the military too? Or?
Was Ed in the military?
Oh yeah, he was in the Army.
Oh.
But he went over to France, and he was in what they called then the Quartermaster Corps, and they would bring up supplies behind the soldiers. And he drove a truck, and then he came back and joined the fire department, drove the fire truck. And Marcella was 11 years older than I was, and when I was born, a couple of other girls on the block was about Mara's age and had little sisters like me. They would dress us all up and show us off, you know.
The older sisters did?
Yeah, yeah. They would, I think they would, you know, get Dorothy Barnheiser was across the street and another kids. And instead of dolls, they had
need
little
a doll,
sisters.
you have little sisters, yeah. That's even better.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, well, I don't remember too much of that. I just remember that I just was, like I said,
Yeah.
very quiet and shy. And, no, I just, I don't know. I was always pretty happy,
Yep.
too. Although, I would, you know what, I think, because it's such a realist, you know, I couldn't make up a story to save my life, you know. I was, I guess I'd say a realist, and I never liked very much women novelists because they were too romantic, too describing too much of the
detail.
scenery and the beautiful. Come on, get going with the story. Get the story going. You know,
Right.
They wasted too much time.
Wording.
You know.
On the frothy stuff. Mom wanted to get to the meat.
Good stuff.
Get to the good stuff.
The good stories. No.
So
But I was even, of course, I went with the nuns, so you never did anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My brothers went to school with them.
Yeah. You never did anything bad. And there weren't too many kids that did much bad once you're at Holy Angels, you know. It's just a beautiful aria. And it's, I don't know, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah. Huh.
and what's it called again?
My heart is thy sweet voice. And it's from this opera. It's really a beautiful aria, and it's the only one I kind of remember.
Yeah.
But I remember the melody of it, and but that's my favorite, and of course that I like too, and I sing along with those. So,
Gilbert and Sullivan.
Gilbert and Sullivan. Uh-huh. A lot of, you'd be surprised, people my age, that they did a lot of that, obviously,
Yeah.
in high school, because a lot of people know them.
Huh.
And if you start singing them, they'll, oh yeah, you know, they did it, you know.
Isn't there some